Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much again for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day and a look here again at ICP, seeing what's going on. We got to update some things here and also just kind of quickly double check a few key factors in the back end, such as liquidation and just kind of recognize where we're at right now. Because again, Bitcoin dominance is increasing. Most altcoins are pulling back here today. It's kind of standard, but again, Bitcoin's pulling back too, right? So depending on how things work out here today, we could very well see ICP retrace further or leg up again. It seems sensible that we're going to see a leg up from here just because this is a local low here and this is an area in which we should be able to see the price action continue further up. I had an alert here set to reevaluate and kind of see, what things are looking like if we hit this level, because this should be a solid pivot point. I'll explain more so here why that's a possibility. Is it a probability? It's hard to say, but I think there's a distinct chance we see a bounce here. Let's look at a few other things here, kind of see what's going on with ICP in the back end. And just so you know, if you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. Thanks again for hitting that like button, commenting below. Deeply appreciate that. If you've been watching for a while, you've been doing that every video. Thank you again so much. It really helps to get this in front of more people so people get less destroyed by the market with moon boys and essentially find better value, right? Because again, my whole purpose here is to help you trade for yourself. So if you can do that, then obviously my job here is set. So let's look at the liquidation, kind of double check this, because when we look at liquidation, it's not like an exact science. People always think that just because there's liquidation, the price is going to go right there. You got to keep in mind there's a lot of support there too, because people are putting a lot of longs or shorts in that direction, right? So we look here though, we can see majority of liquidation to the upside has been swept. There are some late shorts here at about $9 even, but for the most part, 9 to 10. While it has a decent range there, there's a lot more to the downside. Okay, so it could incentivize the price to pull back further. But again, I think the low $6 mark or $7, I think that's pretty unlikely at this point, just based on how strong the market is. But again, Bitcoin pulls back aggressively, we could see that happen. If Bitcoin doesn't pull back, I'm expecting ICP to kind of stabilize and move forward in the upward direction. Again, at this point, just know that those things are there. And what we want to look at here too as well is a few other key factors here on this coin. So we look at the daily time frame first. Let's quickly recognize a few things here first. This recent fair value gap has been filled. So now that we see that, that's all said and done. Basically just implies that there was too much movement in that short amount of time for the price action to have been sold, essentially. So whoever had profitable trades on that 24-hour period is now taking profits. So again, with the fair value gaps, they're like 95% probability they get filled. So the chances of that happening was pretty high. Now that we're here, do we just buy this dip to buy the dip, or do we consider taking a short trade? I would err on the side of caution of short trade right now for this coin just because it does look a little stronger than most. But let's quickly verify and see. We are testing and or potentially breaking below the 50-day SMA. Keep in mind the daily candlestick hasn't closed yet, so it's not official, but it's not really a great sign. Closing below that could imply further downside. We got our local high here. That's nothing super significant, just kind of the highest point for that day. So don't read into this line here. I think more importantly, this fair value gap getting filled and the local highs being close to this range is important to recognize that that could be the reason why we see a bounce. However, with us being over 50 on the RSI and money flow index pulling back and generally just seeing the stochastic pulling back, these are generally unfavorable. While it's nice to be above 50 on the RSI, we still have some support here. It doesn't mean, it pretty much implies we could see the price pull back further, okay? So recognize that. If we do take a look at the 4-hour time frame, we can recognize also that we're under the 20-day SMA. I've talked about this a lot on other coins too, where like we kind of have this shift in momentum where that level is being tested, or more importantly, we've broken below like somewhat of a trend line, okay? Because again, it's never an exact science, but for the most part, you'll see trend lines running concurrent with the 20-day SMA. That's why I like trend lines, because they really give us an indication on every time frame that we're either above or below a specific area, okay? With us breaking below this trend line, simple way to understand it, is that we've shifted momentum, okay? It doesn't mean we're totally bearish, it just implies that we're moving down, which we can see that, right? However, we got the 50 and the 200-day SMA right here at this level. This support about $8. So the price bouncing from here seems kind of realistic, okay? To me at this point, I think it would make sense for us to see something along those lines, okay? So again, we're just gonna kind of pay attention to this. And what I want to look at on the 4-hour too as well is 50 on the RSI. This is a bad thing. What I was hoping for is to see 50 on the RSI hold and this fair value gap get swept. Now that we're below 50 on the RSI, while it's not a definitive line, it is a pretty big deal for me personally, being above or below that level, letting me know what direction we're heading. Okay, so generally I like to trade in the downward direction when we're below 50 on the RSI, and I like to trade in the upward direction when we're over it, okay? It's again, there's a lot of other factors involved, but that is not a great sign. We can see stochastic is swinging up here, of course, with MACD still diverging. Generally, we have mostly unfavorable signs here letting us know that this momentum on the downside has started. Now, keep in mind, previous resistance here, roughly, with that buy-side liquidity sweep at 770, that's likely to be the bouncing point if the price loses this current fib level at 0.382805. Okay, so again, solid chance we see a bounce either currently where we're at or a little bit lower. Now, if we go too low, we'll invalidate this uptrend here, essentially this Elliott wave pattern. So we're hoping that that doesn't happen. But for the moment, this is roughly what we're looking at. I'll update our fibs, of course, later just to give you perspective because when I post our playout chart on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord, it's all available for you. Links down below if you're curious on how to access that. I like to give you specific scenarios for certain coins and kind of give you, ideas of where we're at. But these fib levels, while they're macro and they're beneficial to recognize, I want to update this according to this most recent leg up, and I'm not going to bother with that right now, just so you understand, in case you're kind of thinking to yourself, what the hell is wrong with this guy? He hasn't updated his fibs yet, what the heck? Generally speaking, I prefer macro fibs over the smaller movement ones, but at this point, it would make sense to create some fib levels from here to here. Yeah, that's generally what I would do. All right, I'll go ahead and post that here soon. Anyways, the hourly, let's wrap this up here. This is also a bearish sign here. Most coins are breaking bearish, so to speak, on smaller time frames, while the macro still remains positive. We take a look here. Lagging spans free and clear, conversion lines below the baseline, and obviously we see the cloud is above the price action. This implies we have a lot more resistance above us, so we have this resistance wall somewhere in the 850 to 870 range, and the likelihood of the price coming up and rejecting is higher than it is to just blast straight through. The only thing that would cause that to happen, keep in mind, is if Bitcoin pushes towards 65K or higher. If Bitcoin can maintain $64,000 to $65,000 range, get back into its parallel range, I think there's a solid chance that we're going to be able to see altcoins recover. But for the now, I think it's safe to say that altcoins are going to continue to bleed out just as, every time Bitcoin sneezes, right? That's kind of what we're seeing right now. So just be mindful that is the case. Until that changes, we got to kind of play our cards in that direction. Okay, not saying you get heavy with shorts, just saying that if you're going to consider leaning towards, either direction, it makes sense to short altcoins right now at this exact moment. Again, use good good risk tolerance when you're doing that, okay? You don't just blindly jump into a short trade and say, I'm going to take ICP to $5, all right? That's so stupid. What isn't stupid is taking, ICP perhaps this lower 770, 780 range and securing profits before it bounces. That would maybe be practical. Just things to think about. Thanks again so much either way for watching. Again, if you're part of our Discord or just say our premium group, make sure you read through our trade signals. Our signals guide rather, if you're going to take my trades, because you need to understand how these trades work. There's different risk tolerances. Same thing with trade alerts too. Make sure you read through this. This is a newer section that I provide for our community members. If you don't see it, you may want to go to coin calls and pick the coins you want to follow, or just right click on browse channels and hit show all channels. Sometimes you might have that disabled, and it's Discord's unfortunately not great about letting you know when there's a new channel created. Thanks again, folks. We'll look forward to seeing you next one. Have a good rest of your day. Take care.